When you contextualize humanity within the sublimity of the universe, you'll realize we are mere specks. However, that's not to say we're not grandiose in our own right, as every day we humans make monumental achievements, with one example being the birth of a child. Every day in the US, around 10,000 babies are born, and I think one reason as to why childbirth is such a huge event is because there's this anticipation surrounding it, as a child who has been in the womb of a mother is finally being revealed to the world, and a new chapter begins for all parties involved in raising that child. Suffice to say, this is absolutely beautiful, and I find the concept of birth to be such, not only in this context but also within the study of astrophysics, specifically when it comes to stars, as taking a glance at regions within outer space that form stars, we're able to soak in the sheer majesty of these stellar nurseries. What we're currently looking at is merely a fraction of a larger region in space called the Orion Molecular Cloud Complex, known for the many clouds of dust and gas called nebulae, either being remnants of dying stars or birthplaces of new stars. This massive star-forming space is split up into several different regions, two of which I want to highlight, being Orion A as well as Orion B, both being homes to many famous nebulae. The former is where Messier 42, also known as the Orion Nebula, resides, well known not only for its beauty but also for the prominence throughout human history, as many ancient civilizations, one example being the Mayans, observed it, having noted it to be this sort of cosmic fire of creation, an observation not too far-fetched to how its role as a stellar nursery is affirmed to be through modern-day astronomy. May 15th, 1857. That was the day Williamina Stevens came into the world, born in Dundee, Scotland. She had 5 other siblings, with her parents being Mary and Robert Stevens, the latter of whom passed away when she was only 7 years old, and given the provider of a huge portion of their income was gone, they unfortunately fell on hard times financially, prompting a then 14-year-old Williamina to seek working opportunities as a sort of teacher's assistant at schools in her city. Suffice to say, her upbringing was rough. However, her life would drastically change in her 20s, since in 1877, her last name would forever change from Stevens to Fleming, as she married an accountant whose name was James Fleming, and the two moved from Scotland to Boston, Massachusetts, located in the United States, the following year. Not too long after getting settled in the US, yet another life-changing event would happen, as in 1879, she was pregnant with her son. However, for reasons not detailed in most historical accounts, she was abandoned by her husband, leaving Williamina to fend not only for herself but also for her then unborn child. Even in spite of her hitting yet another rough patch in her life, she never stopped striving towards the light at the end of the tunnel, eventually landing a job as a housekeeper for Harvard professor Edward Pickering, and it's this working relationship she had with him that would forever change the course of her life. Pickering was a professor of astronomy, as well as the director of Harvard's observatory, and with him being in that working environment, he was becoming irritated with his employees, and famously stated that even his maid can do a better job than them. And so, in 1881, Williamina joined his team, being tasked with work in math calculations, as well as astronomical glass plate photography, which was one of the earliest forms of photography used by astronomers to capture cosmic entities. Despite the fact she had no formal education in the field of astronomy, throughout the course of her career she achieved a whole lot, having cataloged over 10,000 stars, having discovered 310 variable stars, and she also discovered 52 nebulae, one of which is a stellar nursery, part of the aforementioned Orion B region of the Orion Molecular Cloud Complex, that being yet another cloud of dust and gas characterized by its darker seahorse head-like appearance known as the Horsehead Nebula. This nebula, along with the Orion Nebula, and by extension the entire Orion complex, are located within the galaxy our home Earth resides, that of course being the Milky Way, and I believe it was important to bring up this perspectival observation and discovery of the Horsehead Nebula from the 1800s through Williamina Fleming's story, as well as 2 examples of regions in space which are birthplaces of stars, because they've been good indicators, prominent throughout history, that our galaxy is very much alive and well, because if there were any signs of not only the Orion complex, but any other stellar nursery in our galaxy for that matter, slowing down drastically in the formation of new stars, there's a chance it could be a sign of a galaxy that's dying. Death for a galaxy refers to the slowing down or even halting of intense star formation, which stops a galaxy from growing. Such dead galaxies are more formally referred to as being quiescent or quenched. Early dead galaxies seen by the JWST have been referred to as red and dead due to their lack of massive hot young blue stars and their abundance of old small red stars. The first thing I want to highlight from this quote is the abbreviation JWST, which stands for the James Webb Space Telescope, and the second detail I'd like to cover is this notion of a galaxy that's red and dead. This idea of course stems from the final stages of a star's life, when a low mass star becomes a red giant before becoming a planetary nebula, and a high mass star becomes a red supergiant before going supernova, which is essentially a cosmic explosion, with one example of a red giant being Aldebaran and an example of a red supergiant being Betelgeuse. Going back to the JWST, it's been a go-to telescope used by astronomers to find and observe many dead or quiescent galaxies, with the Red Unknown's Bright Infrared Extragalactic Survey, also known as RUBIES, being an example of a program that utilized the JWST, having stumbled across an incredibly distant and massive quenched galaxy called RUBIES UDS QGZ7. Another example of a dead galaxy that's been studied with the help of the James Webb Telescope is called GS10578, also known as Pablo's galaxy, and a feature that's unique about this one is the fact that it has a supermassive black hole that is seemingly starving the galaxy to death, as it's quote, keeping it dormant by cutting off the source of food the galaxy needs to form new stars, by pushing away large amounts of gas at astronomical speeds of up to 2 million miles per hour, making it quote, substantial enough to defeat the gravitational influence of Pablo's galaxy and thus escape the galaxy for food. And given that gas is a fundamental ingredient needed for the formation of new stars, without this key component to keep stellar nurseries fed, it of course renders Pablo's galaxy dead. June 26, 1730 is the day Charles Messier was born, specifically in Baden-Württemberg, France. And one interesting fact about his upbringing I should note is that by the time he turned 11 years old, formal education was no longer an option for him due to his father having passed away. However, even despite this unfortunate news, it didn't stop his curiosity from peaking at the sight of the Great Comet of 1744, serving not only as an inspiration but also a catalyst of sorts for his impressive career as an astronomer, getting his start as a draftsman for the French Navy, having picked up valuable skills along the way that made him well equipped for the eventual job he'd land as the chief astronomer at an observatory in Paris, France. Before the time of his passing in 1817, he managed to catalog over 100 cosmic objects, with one example being a spiral galaxy located 40 million light years away called Messier 88, sporting a luminous and active galactic nucleus containing a quote, supermassive black hole estimated to be 100 million times more massive than our sun. And contrary to the aforementioned Pablo's galaxy, Messier 88's central black hole isn't a cause for new stars ceasing to form. In fact, Messier 88 is considered to be alive and well, containing an abundance of dust and gas. Conversely, however, within Messier 87, which is an elliptical galaxy discovered in 1781 by Charles Messier, one of the main reasons for the cessation of new stars within that galaxy is its supermassive black hole, over 6 billion times larger than our sun, essentially consuming the galaxy's high energy particles and spitting out key star formation ingredients such as cold gas, rendering it quenched. Messier 87's black hole is admittedly pretty noteworthy, as not only is its influence on the galaxy pretty interesting, but it's also famous for being the very first black hole we've ever seen actual pictures of, as on April 10th, 2019, the Event Horizon Telescope gave us our very first glimpse into the heart of Messier 87. I had a lot of fun making this video as well as all of the other videos on this channel, and I hope you found today's journey through dying galaxies to be as interesting as I did. I should know, however, that at around the 6-minute 20-second mark, I read a quote and misread the word good as food, and I feel really freaking stupid for doing that, so I am honestly too lazy to go back and fix that, so sorry, apologies, sorry, I'm so sorry. Considering I really only started trying to post more on this channel in June, the fact that we already have 200 subscribers is pretty freaking cool, and although compared to my previous channel that's light work, I'm really happy with where we're headed here, so thank you all so much for sticking around and checking out the content, and here's to having an even greater year in 2026. Deuces.